Hello, welcome to this video on the this keyword. So in this video, we're going to see how the this keyword is a reference to the instance of the script that we're currently using, and we'll also distinguish parameters versus arguments in methods. So let's jump into it. Now, the problem that we have in our code right now is that the coin and the obstacle, they have been tasked with modifying the player in some way or doing something in response to the player colliding. And before, what we had in onTriggerEnter was when the player collided with a coin, the player would gain some coins, and when the player hit an obstacle, the player would lose some coins. But now that we are just calling onCollideWithPlayer from this iCollidable component, the coin and the obstacle are successfully responding, but they don't know how to add coins or how to remove coins from the player. And so we're going to start this video just with a challenge. Your challenge, before we do some work on this together, is to modify the onCollideWithPlayer method to be able to increase or decrease the player's coin count. So your goal is to achieve the same functionality that we had before, where coins would add coins and obstacles would remove coins when you hit them. And you'll want to work in the obstacle class and in the coin class. Try to make the coins add coins to the player and the obstacles remove coins. I'll let you pause the video and try the challenge. Take as much time as you need. Really try to work it out. Just find any solution that's going to work. Okay, good job trying this challenge. Let's see some ways that we could do this to make the obstacle and the coin able to interact with the player again. So as you may have guessed from the introduction to this video, we are eventually going to use the this keyword, and we're going to achieve this functionality using parameters and arguments. But let's start by just finding any way to make this happen. So onCollideWithPlayer currently doesn't have any parameters. What I would like to do in obstacle, and even we go further back to player collision, what I would like to do is say, well, if you collide with the player, then I want to pass in some information about the player here. So for example, I can pass in GameObject, or I would like to be able to pass in GameObject. Now, GameObject with a lowercase g, capital O, from any script, specifically any mono behavior, is a reference to that GameObject. And it'll say here, this is the GameObject component this component is attached to. And every component is attached to a GameObject. So player collision, this script, it's attached to this player GameObject, this parent that has all the logic on it. And so I could pass in this GameObject. Now to do that, the data type is GameObject, so I would need to go to iCollidable and write capital G GameObject, and I'd probably just call this GO or something. I wouldn't want to write GameObject like that because it could get a little bit confusing, because this word here, lowercase g GameObject, is the same as what we're using here. So I'm just going to call this GO. And now if we go to the obstacle class and the coin class, well, now it's mad at us because it's saying you didn't implement the interface. You didn't implement the member, the method. And sure enough, right, this one needs a GameObject reference as well. So this is a parameter, and this obstacle method needs a GameObject reference as well. Now let's talk about parameters. So this iCollidable and obstacle and coin class, now these have these methods that now take parameters. So the parameter is the variable, specifically the variable. So let's go to coin, right? This variable here called GO is a GameObject, and it comes from whatever information is passed in from whoever calls onCollideWithPlayer. But this GO is a GameObject. It is presumably whoever we collided with. So what I can do is I can now go GO.getComponent, and this GameObject represents a player, right? So maybe I should rename this GO to player actually, because this represents the player that we're going to collide with. Now the name can be different here. That's okay, but I'll make them all the same. Right, so I can write player.getComponent, and on the player, right, on this game object, the component that I want is the coin counter. So I can write coin counter like this, and then I can make sure I store the reference. Coin counter, maybe counter equals, like that. Maybe I'll name this coin counter just to be clear. And I can say if coin counter is not null, then let's increase the coin. So what did we do back here in coin? We said coin counter.increase coin count and debug.log. So I'll copy that functionality over to coin. And here I don't need to call coin.getValue because I'm already in the coin class. I can actually change the value directly. Right? So I actually don't need this getValue function anymore. I can just write increase coin count by the value. So this is increasing the coin counter's coin count and then printing the coin count there. So let's just try this for coin. I'll save that. In fact, I made a bunch of changes here in these files. To save all of them, it's Control-Shift-S in Visual Studio. It saves all the files. So they should all be reloading. Okay, and now if I try it for coin specifically, hopefully I see the player's coin count increasing from 10 to 20 to 30 to 40, etc. So that's working for coin. Now I could do the same thing for obstacle. For now, I'm gonna pause on that. I won't do that yet. Let's see another way we could do this. So iCollidable currently takes a game object in this onCollideWithPlayer method. Let's change this game object to a transform. And the difference is not very big here. So every game object has a transform. And as long as I have a reference to the transform, I can get a reference to any other script. And so by writing transform, all I'm doing is I'm saying, well, here I need this parameter to be of type transform. And same for coin. But it's still going to work the same way. I can still write player, which is a transform now. I can still write transform right here. .getComponent, it still works the same way. So that's going to work just the same. Okay, let's see one. Well, I think this is not going to work in player collision because here I've passed in a game object. So to pass in a reference to the transform of the player collision, I just write transform. So again, that is specifically going to be on this player game object, right, where player collision, the script is here. When I write transform, that's just getting this transform component directly. And then I'm accessing the transforms component called coin counter. So from player collision, we get the transform, and from the transform, we get the coin counter. So we're all moving around on the same script here. Right, which actually makes us think, well, if I want the coin counter of the thing I'm passing in, well, why don't I just directly pass in a coin counter? So I'll call this player coin counter. Why don't I just directly pass in a player's coin counter? So let's go back to obstacle and change that parameter again. And same here with in coin. So now in player collision, instead of passing in a transform, now I want to pass in the player's coin counter. Well, I already have a reference to it right here, coin counter. So I can just pass in the coin counter. And now in coin, well, instead of having to go and get a component of type coin counter, I actually have it already. It's right here. This is the parameter. So I can comment out these lines. And all I need is to say player coin counter dot increase coin count. Right? So this function, and I'll get rid of these and I'll bring them back in a moment. Right? This function actually becomes a lot simpler. Right? I'm passing in the coin counter directly. Now the issue here is that not every object that I collide with needs the coin counter. So the coins coins and the ramps do modify the coin count. The coin and the obstacle do modify the coin count. But a ramp, for example, may just want to modify the transform. It may want to give it a speed boost, or it may want to use the rigid body to add a force to it, or a power up may want to teleport the player somewhere. Right? There's lots of ways you can modify the player that aren't the coin counter, and so it might just be better when we collide with something, an iCollidable. Let's just pass in the script that we're dealing with right now. This is player collision. So when the player collides with a coin or an obstacle, and the on trigger enter is in player collision, let's just pass in a reference to that player collision script itself. Now, how you pass in a reference to that player collision script itself is you just write this. So here's the this keyword. And whatever we've been passing in here between these two brackets when we call the function, that's called an argument. And so we're passing in this as an argument. If you hover over this, it says the type is player collision. So this specifically is this instance of the player collision script, this component, attached to the player here. So I'm passing in a player collision script, which means that this iCollidable actually needs to take data type player collision. And I'll make the variable just called player collision. I can copy that parameter, and once more for the last time, just paste that in obstacle and in coin. Okay, and now we're going to need to go back. So I'll undo this so we get our code back from before, and then I'll just paste player collision in here, and we'll rename this player collision. Now here we still need to go and get the coin counter component from player collision. But the way that we call it is pretty straightforward. We just pass in this. So this is a reference to the player collision script. And here in coin, we go and get that, the coin counter component using the player collision script. We take player collision and say, get the coin counter that's attached to the same object. Okay, and of course, we could also change this to be try get component like we did before. And let's just make sure that we still have this functionality on coin. Well, maybe I will, oh yeah, no, save them all. That's right, we didn't save it. It'll reload. So in this video, we really have seen several different ways to access different components, and there's not one right or wrong way, but this way really highlights the this component, the this keyword rather, and what that does. So let's make sure it works for coins. Okay, collide with the coin. Are we seeing the value being printed? We're not yet. Maybe I didn't put the value in there. So I do have an error here. I'm going to leave this error for you to fix. So your challenge is to fix this coin script that we've worked on in the video so that it actually increases the coin count. And then to modify the obstacle script so that it also decreases the coin count again, just like before. So use that player collision component, the player collision reference rather, in obstacle and in coin to make the same behavior happen as before, and pass in the this keyword in the on collide with player method. Okay, I will let you pause the video and get this code working again. Okay, good job trying the challenge. So the issue that we're having here with this coin try get component in on collide with player is that we're trying to get a coin counter component from the coin script. Well, the coin script, or the coin script, is attached to a coin, and this game object doesn't have a coin counter on it. I want to get the coin counter from the player, and so I need to go get a reference to a script that's on the player. So this is player collision, and write player collision dot try get component. Now this should allow us to actually get the coin counter component from the player. Okay, and we'll copy this same logic here, and we'll put that inside obstacle. And here, instead of increasing, we're going to decrease the coin count by coin penalty. Okay, we also don't need this get coin penalty method anymore. So we'll clean up our coin and obstacle scripts. On trigger enter looks good. We'll clean these scripts up as well. And in the end, we're actually left with less code than we had before. So we'll just clean this all up. I'll make sure you can see all this code after, maybe right now. So here's iCollidable. Here's coin counter. Okay, pause if you need. Here's the obstacle script. And here's the coin script. Get rid of this debug.log as well. Okay, here's the player collision script. And here's the movement script, just in case you need that one again as well. Okay, let's go and try this, just make sure it still works. 10, 20, 30, adding 5 every time and subtracting 2 here. So that looks great. So it looks like our code is all working. It's nice and elegant. It's very clean, very scalable and maintainable. And that looks great. So we're going to continue on in the tutorial in the next video. So we'll see you there.